Welcome to the Total Football Podcast. My name is Declan Hart and I'm joined by Matthias O'Flaherty.
Hello.
This week we dive deep into a hectic weekend of football while also checking in on that pesky World Cup group stage draw. Barney Ronay of The Guardian wrote a piece last week saying Gary Lineker fronting the World Cup draw for FIFA feels like a kind of betrayal. Was this an act of betrayal, or was it simply just a man being very good at hosting football-based broadcast?
I mean, I read the piece and I thought it was a bit over the top. I can see where he's coming from because Lineker has been and still is very critical of FIFA, but at the same time he was getting very overly,
That's Barney Ronay's style as
pretty
well,
much,
of course. Yeah. We do have to factor that in. But I kind of agreed with where he was coming from because, I used to be a very ardent follower of Gary Lineker on Twitter, but I recently unfollowed him. There's something about his demeanour recently, and it's been very kind of, I don't know how you describe it. It's just off-putting.
Yeah, I mean, Gary's one of the first pundits, this new breed of pundit who talks a little bit more about the game and about the circumstances around it instead of just purely focusing on the football. And, he's a well-spoken person, he's likeable, and he's done a great job as host of the Match of the Day. And I think that part of that is, why he's got such a big following and why people look up to him. And then, he started criticising FIFA. He's one of the only... Well, he was definitely, while he started, he was one of the only people doing it.
He was one of the most outspoken people about it, certainly.
Yeah. And as a football man himself, he had a bit more credence because, a lot of the time the criticisms from journalists and, they're saying, you never played football, you don't understand.
It doesn't have as much weight as it does when, Gary Lineker was top goal scorer at a World Cup before. That's the kind of calibre he's at.
Yeah, and now he's, done pretty much all there is to do on the other side of it too, He's hosted Match of the Day.
Yeah, and he's a very good host of Match of the Day. And, he did a good job of the draw.
Yeah.
There were no mistakes or anything. He's got that... he's got that charm to him. Yeah. Just the fact that he was hosting it, he just kind of went against his word.
He did, yeah. He definitely did at least partially go against his word. But I also think that FIFA didn't take him on to, take the sting out of his criticism or, to point out, Gary Lineker's working with us. You can't take his...
Yeah.
I think they just took him on because he's a very good host for things like this, And I do think he made the World Cup draw better.
Yeah, it wasn't as tedious as it normally is, which is, and speaking of the World Cup draw, we might as well bring that. We're going into the news now, so we'll talk about that. And were there any groups that kind of jumped out at you?
Definitely Group D. That's my group of death, personally.
Yeah,
Argentina, Argentina, Iceland, Croatia, Nigeria. That looks like it's going to be a really tough group because Argentina are probably one of the weakest top seeds.
Not according to me. I still think they're going to win the World Cup.
Okay, you still think they're going to come good, but I mean, without Messi, they wouldn't have qualified.
Yeah, that's true. We do have to take into account how they've actually performed.
Yeah.
On that basis, they are one of the weaker Pot 1 teams.
Over the 2 years of qualifying, they are one of the worst teams to qualify from South America. They barely got ahead of Peru on the last group, or on the last day. They were behind them coming into it. So they're definitely weaker than some of the other Pot 1 teams. I can see them getting beat by Iceland, who,
Yeah, this is their first World Cup. They'll relish the challenge. That's the opening match of that group as well, I think. So they'll be well up for that.
Yeah, that'll definitely set the tone for it, because Iceland, this is their once-in-a-generation team. They're going to absolutely make the most of it, and I do see them getting out of that group. Croatia are a strong team,
They never really lived up to expectation, though, which is a really disappointing thing.
Yeah.
And they were in the same qualifying group as Iceland for the World Cup, and Iceland came top of that group.
Yeah, and Croatia only got there on the last day, I think, ahead of Ukraine.
They only got to the playoffs in the last time, and then they blew away Greece.
Yeah, but that first leg against Greece shows what Croatia are capable of.
Yeah.
They have some really strong players, they've Modric, they've Rakitic,
Mandzukic
up front. And I think this is probably the last World Cup cycle for the best of their players.
Yeah, you would think so. This is kind of the end. The last World Cup was the same for the Ivory Coast. It was kind of they never really lived up to expectations. Granted, there were more circumstances behind that because they kept drawing the hardest groups.
Yeah.
which is probably not the case for Croatia, but it feels like this is the end of an era.
Yeah, Croatia are having some problems with corruption, and I think the head of the FA or one of the heads.
Yeah, there's if you remember the Euros, there were flares thrown onto the pitch.
Yeah, that was in protest
Czech
against
Republic,
them.
I think.
Yeah. But there's all sorts of drama and backroom stuff, and I think if Croatia can put that behind them and focus on their football, they're one of the better teams at the World Cup in terms of on paper, in terms of pure quality. If they can bring that out of them and perform to the standard they're capable of, they're well capable of qualifying.
Yeah, going back to the Euros again, they beat Spain to top their group at the Euros in 2016. It was only for just a terrible performance against Portugal and then a fortunate break on the counter in the 118th minute that prevented penalties. I mean,
Portugal won that Euros, and Croatia arguably gave them the hardest game of all the ones that they won going up to it.
That Croatia side underperformed in that match.
Yeah, they were definitely. It was definitely seen at the time as a bit of a waste for Croatia to go against that Portugal team.
I was really disappointed for Croatia just because I wanted them to reach that, not even just the promised land, just to get somewhere, and it just felt like a total disappointment.
It did, yeah, and I mean this World Cup is the chance to put that right.
Yeah, because they were unlucky at the last World Cup as well with Brazil. They kind of were unfortunate in that group. So then Nigeria have met Argentina in 5 of the last 6 World Cups now, including this one. Yeah,
and they don't have a very good record against them, but they played a friendly last month, I think, and they won 4-1.
Oh, did they? I didn't see that.
Nigeria are a very strong team right now. I'd almost think the strongest in Africa. I don't think they won the last African Cup of Nations.
No, I can't remember who it was, but I don't think it was Nigeria.
No, but some of the players they have, Moses, Iwobi, John Obi Mikel still play for them.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's obviously. He's the
leader in that team.
Yeah. I don't know if you've watched any of their games, but he's a lot more attacking. He turns into this attacking midfielder. I suppose
he was more of an attacking midfielder before he met Mourinho.
Yeah, that's where he won the World Cup Under-20 Player of the Year.
Yeah,
he's always been more attacking for the national team, and I mean, they're just one of the better sides in Africa. They have a tradition of being one of the best sides in Africa, and they've looked good in qualifying. They look really good in that friendly against Argentina. I mean, they blew them off the pitch.
Yeah.
They have strong players playing, especially in England. And I think they probably, again, on paper, but probably they could definitely beat Argentina the way they are now.
Yeah,
they have.
Argentina's progression is not to be taken for granted.
Yeah, exactly. And also the 4th seed, Nigeria, actually look like they can qualify, which you can't say about some of the others.
The only other group I thought the 4th seed might get something is in Group H, which I think is the most open group. It's kind of the hipsters group, really, because it's Poland, Colombia, Japan, and Senegal, I think.
Yeah.
And you look at Poland, they have Robert Lewandowski. Colombia, they have James Rodriguez. Senegal, they have Mane. Japan, they have what's his name for Kesuke Honda.
Kensuke Honda, I think.
And is Kagawa Japanese?
Kagawa, yeah. No, they've got Okazaka for Leicester.
Oh, yeah, they've got Okazaki.
Yeah, they've got some strong players too, that group, very much a hipster group. But you would say that Poland should qualify in first.
Poland again, though, they never really performed to what they can perform to.
Yeah, and obviously there's no point looking at these groups in isolation because look back at some of the past World Cups, you see groups and you think easily top 1, 2, they'll get through, no problem. Then, dumped out in their arse.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think it's set up to be a good World Cup.
Yeah.
There's no obvious favourite for me. As good as Germany are, I think they're lacking a striker up front, an experienced striker. I just feel like they're not what they were 4 years ago. I feel like Brazil, they're coming good over what they were 4 years ago, but they're still not quite there yet, I don't think.
I mean, my pick's definitely Germany. I know, they're not as good as they were 4 years ago. They don't have a striker. They didn't have a striker 4 years ago. They had Klose.
And that's all you need.
Yeah, but I mean, at times it felt like he was only being played so he could get the World Cup record.
But he had to get the record.
He had to, but that team was better without a striker. Honestly, I think so. And now they've got some good young players coming up. Timo Werner, especially.
He looks good at Leipzig, but I don't know, is he ready to lead the line for Germany? Particularly when German fans don't seem to care much for him.
I think that's more Leipzig being reflected on him than anything else. They are not a popular club in Germany.
No, but I don't know. It could, maybe they'll put it aside for the World Cup, but I don't know yet.
No, obviously it's too early to tell, but Germany would be my favourites right now. I don't think Brazil are all that yet. I don't know. Sometimes they look like the best team in the world, and other times you question the mentality. You know?
Yeah, and like the way the groups are, if one of Germany or Brazil do mess up in the group, they could play each other in the last 16, which is a lot of fun.
That would be a very interesting last 16 match. Yeah,
talk about mentality, they could just crumble.
I mean, I don't see it going too well for Brazil if they have to come up against Germany that early in the tournament.
They just get flashbacks to their biggest nightmare.
That's the big worry, yeah.
And then what about England's group with Belgium?
I think it's quite kind to England.
So do I.
I mean, Tunisia, not the biggest
Probably
threat.
the weakest team from... They were pot 3, weren't
pot
they?
3, yeah.
And then Panama are certainly the weakest team from pot 4.
Yeah, I mean... Really, if Belgium and England don't qualify first and second, there are problems.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, Belgium especially will be looking at themselves as one of the tournament, dark horses. England might fancy themselves for that title too. I don't think they're there yet, but I think definitely they should be getting out of that group.
Yeah, if they mess up, that's worse than losing to Iceland, I think.
I do too. I mean, that Iceland team, at the time it looked like a big shock, but now when you see the results in qualifying, they're able to do it consistently.
Iceland had gone kind of under the radar at that point. That was their coming of age moment.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they're actually a properly good team.
Yeah, and like they could upset Argentina and Croatia in that group.
Yeah, I wouldn't be all that surprised seeing them get to a quarterfinal, to be honest. I think so England losing to Iceland isn't very indicative of a bad England team, and I think the 2 years have helped as well. They have a lot of youth teams winning.
Yeah,
they're under 17s, they're under 19s,
and
they're under 20s.
All got to at least a final, if not won their championship this summer.
Yeah, exactly. They all had good runs. So all the young players, in the last couple of friendlies, Loftus-Cheek, Tammy Abraham, Gomez, were all playing playing fairly big parts for England. And
like they still have the likes of Marcus Rashford up front, who's still very young. Like Harry Kane is a world-class striker at this point.
Yeah, Dele Alli's only going to get better.
Well, hopefully he picks up his form for England. If he picks up his form. The English will be hoping he picks up his form anyway.
And I mean, they still have Sterling and Lallana.
Yeah, and Sterling's in phenomenal form so far this season.
Yeah, he's been very good. I mean, they've a lot of top-class players. They should do well.
Yeah.
That's always the English curse. A lot of good players who should do well.
Yeah, sure, the golden generation never really lived up to much.
Yeah.
But moving away from international football, and in Italy, who weren't involved in the World Cup draw on Friday, they put that aside for the top-of-the-table clash between Napoli and Juventus.
Yeah, it was an interesting game because there was only one goal scored by Higuain, ironically.
Of course, of course.
It had to be.
It had to be him.
Had to be him. But, I mean... That was pretty huge for Juventus. They were in danger of falling out of touch altogether.
Yeah, there was a 4-point gap going into the game. So, if they lost that's 7 points.
Yeah, a 7-point gap would be fairly huge. I mean, especially when the top of the table is so clustered, you don't want to fall that far behind.
Yeah, and considering they play Inter Milan next weekend as well, like if they were 7 points behind Napoli, 6 points behind Inter Milan going into that match, they could have fallen even further behind again. Yeah,
and at that point, you're seriously asking questions. But I saw somewhere that this is the best start for Napoli, Lazio, and Inter in the history of the clubs. Best start for Sampdoria, not Lazio, sorry. It's about the third best start for Juventus and the second best start for Roma. That's an indication of just
such a
how
high
good
quality in Serie A at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, this is the best Serie A has been in years.
Yeah, like they seem like they're finally recovering from everything that went on 10 years ago. Like Alpia Poli or however it's pronounced. I can't speak Italian.
Yeah, Calcio.
Yeah,
that's how you say soccer. That's the first half of it.
Yeah.
No, but I think Italy's getting to the stage where England was for the last 2 or 3 years, in that their top clubs are finally being competitive again.
Yeah,
they look stronger again. And I think I think it will take them another 2 or 3 years to properly turn that into European success.
Yeah,
But if
like
they
Inter Milan, once Inter Milan and AC Milan can start getting back into Europe every year, like that's when Italy will really feel back.
I mean, that's what you say, but AC Milan, it's not looking all too good for
Speaking
them.
of best records, Benevento are off to their best start in Serie A history, technically, because it's their first ever start in Serie A. They got their first point yesterday afternoon in the most dramatic of fashions. I can't believe it.
You could not script it any
Yeah,
better.
Gattuso's first match as Milan manager after they sacked Ventura last week. And I have his name written down here. Where is it? Alberto Brignoli, on loan from Juventus, the goalkeeper for Benevento in the 95th minute, scores a diving header to equalise against AC Milan to get their first point ever in Serie A.
I mean, it's straight out of a movie script, isn't it?
It is, like, it's unfathomable just how ridiculous of a... and Gattuso said after the match he'd rather be stabbed than concede that goal.
I mean, Gattuso is a very demonstrative man.
Yeah.
You know, I can see why losing this would hurt him so much. And I mean, it's like even the goal scored before it was a 2-2 draw.
Yeah.
The first goal was scored by an Inter loanee, you know?
Oh, just AC Milan's first nightmare. And then Inter Milan went top of the table to make things even worse later that day.
Yeah.
5-0 win over Chievo Verona.
Yeah, and it's kind of startling how different the two clubs have been this year. Because ever since Inter won the Champions League under Jose Mourinho, they've been on a downward slope.
Yeah.
But they never quite hit the lows that Milan have in the same period.
Yeah.
You know? They've still been the better Milan club. Inter are coming 7th and 8th. Milan are coming 12th and 14th.
Yeah.
And no amount of money. Like, Milan during the summer looked to have a very good transfer.
Yeah, because like the thing is, Inter Milan and AC Milan were both bought by Chinese owners. And Inter Milan seemed like they'd made a mess of things. They brought in Frank de Boer. They made all these signings. And then it looked like they were going to be threatened under financial fair play. They didn't even qualify for Europe for this season, whereas AC Milan did without that spending. And then it seemed in last summer that they had spent wiser than Inter Milan. They'd learned from Inter Milan's mistakes. They'd stuck with their manager, and then just everything's gone terribly wrong this season.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the problem is Ventura, the sort of ethic he was trying to get in at the club was one of hard work. He had a lot of talented young players, you know, coming through. Locatelli in centre mid, Gatrone, as well as obviously Donnarumma.
Yeah, like he's the biggest one.
He's the big star, but I mean the other players were playing well, quietly for him. And then, you know, they spent 200 million in the transfer window, signed a load of big name players.
Yeah, but the Bonucci one is what really just pushed them over the edge. We did discuss this last week as well, so we don't want to kind of talk about it again, but like the Bonucci signing just seems like it's gone terribly wrong for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Including Juventus, including Bonucci himself and AC Milan. Like it's just
he was
a complete mess at the moment.
With Barzagli and Chiellini, he looked like in that back three, they all looked like the three best defenders in the world.
Yeah, now everyone kind of looks a shadow of their former selves.
Yeah.
Even with Italy as well, it's weird.
Yeah. I don't know. At some point, you've got to stop saying he's just out of form and start saying, you know, is he declining permanently?
Yeah, like I wouldn't go that far just yet. I still believe that he can come good.
All right, but I mean, it's the beginning of December. You know, he's been out of form since August.
Yeah.
That is a long slump.
It is.
Yeah.
It's worrying for both him and Milan. Maybe he just needs a rest.
Maybe sometimes that's the best thing you can do as a footballer.
And in Paris, or in France, Paris Saint-Germain lost their first game in the season to Strasbourg. Is that how it's pronounced?
Strasbourg.
But does it even matter?
Probably not. No, the truth is it probably doesn't. I mean, how many points do they clear now?
4 or 5 at least.
4 or 5. I mean, they were unbeaten going into this. You know, they don't let up many points, and so long as they continue to not let up many points, I don't think it'll matter long term.
Yeah, it seems like they're going to walk the league this season, which is a shame considering how exciting Liga was last season.
Yeah. Well, Monaco having all their players poached did not help.
Yeah, and even Nice have completely collapsed.
Yeah, you don't know what's
happening
to them.
They were 4 points off the top last season, which is incredible for them.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's still quality there.
Yeah.
Nantes have started the season quite well under Ranieri.
Yeah, they're fifth, I think, at the moment.
They're fifth at the moment, yeah. And at the beginning of the season, they were keeping up with PSG. Even.
Yeah, they were third, I think, just behind Monaco at the time.
And there's still Lyon and Marseille.
Yeah, Lyon and Marseille have been fantastic.
Yeah. They've got a lot of younger players who are looking quite good for them. Fekir for Lyon especially.
Yeah, he's having a phenomenal season. It's just such a shame that PSG can just go out and buy two of the best young players in the world and just obliterate the rest of the league.
I mean, yeah, it is in a way. It does take a bit of the shine off it. But at the same time, League One is in the perfect spot to have the level. The level is at the spot where they can still bring in younger talent. It's not like the Premier League where every game is so important that you can't afford to play a younger player.
Yeah.
So they can bring in their own young talent, but they're also. It's not like the Eredivisie, the Dutch league. They can bring in foreign talent. They can bring in
there
other
is still
good players.
some money there.
Exactly. There's enough money to bring in good players and to really build a squad. And that's what Monaco have done. That's what Lyon are looking like they're doing. And I mean, in 2 or 3 years, I could see that paying off for them and it getting a bit more competitive, albeit with PSG still at the top.
It is a very kind of short-term thinking way of looking at it, saying, PSG are just going to walk the league this season. Like, I think you're right about Lyon. They could seriously grow in the next few years if they're able to hold on to their players. Like, even losing someone like Alexander Lacazette and still being as strong as they are is a testament to what's going on at the club there.
Yeah, exactly. And because of the foundations Lyon have there, they were 7 years in a row league champions.
Yeah, I think that was a record as well and everything, not that long ago.
Yeah, then Marseille, they have a tremendous capacity. They could be clubs as big as Liverpool
Marseille
and United.
do have money.
They do, exactly. That's, I think, part of the reason Monaco's success, obviously, having all their players poached wasn't great. But Monaco,
they made money, and that's kind of the goal at that club, I suppose.
Yeah. But they don't have as big a fan base. They don't have as, they're not as traditionally as big a club.
Yeah.
And I think that will help Lyon and Marseille be a bit more permanent. It helps attitudes. It helps players say, this is a big enough club for me, and not leave. And they're not at that stage yet, but I think they're names that can get to that stage, especially within France with French players. You know?
And we could see them become more competitive in Europe.
Yeah.
If they're not necessarily, PSG are kind of one of the favourites for the Champions League. Like, that's the calibre, that's the level they've been playing at this season. Like, you can't really expect someone like Lyon or Marseille to keep up with that throughout 38-game season.
No, and definitely not right now. No. But if they keep the momentum they have going forward, I think they could do it in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and we'll keep an eye out. Like, I hope that there's some kind of competitiveness in Liga. I really enjoyed watching it last season. But in Spain, Real Madrid squandered the opportunity to gain further ground on Barcelona as both teams slumped to draws this weekend. But the big news is Samuel Umtiti is injured for the next 8 weeks.
Yeah, that's going to hurt Barcelona. He's their best defender, bar none.
Is that Real Madrid's last chance for this La Liga title?
I mean,
an injury to Barcelona's best defender.
Yeah, we've talked about how often teams in Spain drop points and, that it isn't often. And with Barcelona dropping points, a big player getting out injured, this is the time that they need to start, with the comeback. If they could have caught up a couple of points before the Clásico, that would be huge.
Yeah. Well, they have to go to the United Arab Emirates in between now and the Clásico because of the Club World Cup. So they'll have a few games in hand because of that, I think. So it'll be interesting to see if Barcelona extend the gap while Real Madrid are away.
Yeah. And I mean, this could turn out to be the absolute worst possible scenario for Madrid because Barcelona win all the games in hand and win all the extra games while Real Madrid are gone. That is going to be some huge mental pressure.
Yeah,
and I mean,
if the gap is 13 points by the time Real Madrid play Barcelona, it's just going to seem uncatchable.
Exactly. And especially if they lose it then. I mean...
Yeah, I think if Real Madrid lose El Clásico, that's it.
Yeah. And I think this weekend was their chance to give themselves a safety net if they lost it. But they didn't. They didn't take advantage of it. And now they're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, but speaking of bad injuries for centre-backs, Toby Alderweireld has missed 5 matches for Tottenham, and Tottenham have only picked up 5 points since then. Was Pep wrong, is my question. Is it a Toby Alderweireld team?
I mean, Spurs fans will always have told you he's one of their best players. And I think you can see that a lot of the time. He's one of the best defenders in the league. But at the same time, Tottenham's problems right now don't start and end with their centre-backs.
Yeah.
You know? In contrast to Arsenal, I know we're talking about it later, Arsenal's biggest problem against United was the defence.
Yeah.
You know? Tottenham's biggest problems the last couple of games isn't just the defence. The whole team's looked lifeless.
Team just, yeah, exactly.
They've looked lifeless. They haven't been as sharp. They haven't been as clinical. They haven't been as creative. They're just not as good now as they were 2 months ago.
They just look tired.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about this last week, I think, with Pochettino's style and how it drops off. And I mean,
it's weird to see it happen in the middle of a season.
Yeah. Very, very.
Concerning because, like, if they can't find any form, like, they're coming into the busiest period of the season and they're already, 8 points off United in second even.
Yeah.
Like, that's a considerable gap to second.
I mean, yeah, like, they're 8 points off United. They're still a couple off Liverpool, who are fourth right now.
They're a point behind Arsenal, and I think Arsenal are 3 behind Liverpool.
4 points behind Liverpool for the Champions League.
Yeah.
If they don't pick something up before Christmas, they could completely lose sight of the top 4.
Yeah, like last week, Burnley were ahead of them. Like, that's how dire it's been for Tottenham lately.
Yeah.
And they were lucky rather, to not concede a very last minute penalty against Watford because Eric Dyer, speaking of Dyer, Eric Dyer clearly handled the ball inside the Watford box, but I can't remember who the referee was. He just waved play on.
Yeah, no, I saw that, and I mean, that wasn't the only instance. Watford went up one end of the pitch, should have been given a penalty.
Yeah.
It came back, and Son scored the equaliser.
I think that was more of a 50-50, but yeah. That was
more of a 50-50,
you
but
could see it given.
Definitely.
And then Davinson Sanchez in the second half, I don't know what he was thinking. Just elbowed, I think it was Richarlison.
Yeah. It was stupid, you know?
Like, he is young.
He is, exactly. That's the sort of thing you see from a young player whose composure is kind of leaving him. And you got to wonder, why is his composure leaving him in a drawn game, you know?
Yeah, and like, it was just past the halfway line.
Exactly.
And it was right in front of Marco Silva as well.
Yeah, there is no reason to do that. There is absolutely none. And if you're getting frustrated, why are you getting frustrated? Now we're into a game that you're drawing against Watford.
There's still plenty of time. Like, Watford are a good side, like, and he knows that going in that they're a good side.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to fight for this win.
And the best teams, you don't see the best teams doing that. City have come from behind the last 2 weeks, especially dramatically. You know,
late winners.
Yeah, and none of their players are getting frustrated and doing anything stupid like that. They're all confident that while the game goes on, even though they're drawing, even though they're behind, they're going to get the goal. They're going to win it. And it's that mentality that's bringing City on right now. And Tottenham lack it. You know, Tottenham, I don't know what it is, but they don't seem to have that mentality of we are going to win this game, even when they're drawing. When they're drawing, they get nervous. They get frustrated.
Yeah, if one like, they were down to 10 men, but still, like, I've seen plenty of teams be down to 10 men in a drawn match and go on to win it. But, like, if either team were going to win, it was going to be Watford.
Yeah. Tottenham were hanging on there a bit at the end.
Yeah, especially the last 10 minutes. But I think it was still a half an hour to play. I think we mentioned it when Davinson Sanchez was sent off. But Tottenham only ever really looked like scoring once throughout that whole 30-minute period.
Yeah.
Whereas Watford had several chances.
Yeah, and I really do think it's a mentality issue. I mean, it's that same core of players who were against Chelsea, that 2-2 draw the year Leicester won the league.
Yeah.
I'll talk a little bit because Mark Clattenburg was in the news. He was talking about this game. He was saying,
incredible.
I mean, he was saying he didn't want to send anybody off because the story in the paper would be Clattenburg loses the title for Tottenham.
Yeah, there's so many things wrong with what Clattenburg said. Just the ego of the man is my problem with this.
I mean, that was ridiculous. Like, first of all,
that match was a bloodbath.
It was. Like, without going too much into Clattenburg and how terrible a referee he is for saying that. You don't think that. No. If you ref the game that's in front of you, if there are red card challenges, and there were, you should send people off. But anyway, that is showing the same mentality. It's that same core of players, you know.
Yeah, they just lose their heads completely.
Dyer should have been sent off that game. He's still playing there now. Dembele should have been sent off that game.
He got a 6-match ban after that match.
He did. Yeah, I mean, he's still playing for them. Lamela should have been sent off. He's coming back from injury now.
Yeah, I think he came off the bench in that match.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, it's the same core of players playing for Tottenham now and then. They got frustrated then. You know, they're getting frustrated in games now. I know it's Sanchez, he wasn't there at the time.
Yeah.
But it does seem like an attitude at the club. You know, when things are going well, like at the tail end of last year, Harry Kane got 7 goals in 2 games.
Once the title was decided.
Once the title was
and they were
decided.
playing teams that were on the beach.
Yeah, they're just flat track bullies a little. You get the sense that they are anyway. Because, you know, when they're going well, when they're looking good, when they're playing well, they are a fantastic team to watch. You know, they're one of the best in the country. But I mean, have they had a game yet where they've had their backs up against the wall? They're down. It's a must-win game, and they come through.
No, I can't think of any.
No, and I think that's what they need. They need to forge that sort of mentality. You know, they've had their couple of losses. Now I want to see them overcome it. You know,
yeah,
properly go out there. And
I feel like a part of this comes from the fact that they don't treat the League Cup and the FA Cup with any kind of respect.
Yeah,
like if you just win one of those cups, you get that mentality that you can overcome anything. You can win these things.
I'd agree, and I think Tottenham have hit a wall a bit at the moment. I mean, Pochettino needs to figure out something. His team looks tired. As we said, coming into Christmas, that's a terrible sign.
Yeah.
You know, he needs to figure something out, and he needs to figure it out fast. And I think this is Pochettino's chance to put himself up there as one of the best managers. You know,
yeah.
Because if he can turn this team around, if he can get that mentality, and I mean, he's had a while now, and I haven't seen any sign of it. But now's the time. You know, if they can get that mentality change now, they're still in Europe. They've looked very good in Europe.
They've looked very good in Europe.
Yeah,
bizarrely.
I mean, yeah, and if they're going at full force with their players, with their team, I could see them winning anything. I could see them beating anyone, you know, at their best.
At their best, yeah, they are one of the best sides in England, without a doubt.
Yeah, so I want to see them consistently put it together, get some winning attitude into them, and turn around a season that's starting to look like it's going off the rails a bit.
Yeah, that will do us for the news for part 1. Join us after the break where we will discuss the intense relegation battle taking place in the Premier League. (2017-18) is the most difficult Premier League season to call ever, but not in the way you might think. City may be leading a pack of hopeless pretenders, but at the foot of the table it's a much different rat race to the bottom. Between 9th and the relegation zone there are 10 points, and there are several teams that could go down. But none of these squads are genuinely awful on paper. So how come so many teams are so bad?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I think Swansea genuinely are terrible on paper.
Maybe they're the exception.
But yeah, no, a lot of these teams don't look any worse than each other. I mean, we've been complaining about Everton on the podcast a lot recently, and they had a good win. You know, they're back up to 10th.
Yeah, they got a 9th
even.
9th, yeah. They've won their last 2 games 6-0 in aggregate, which is the complete opposite of what was happening a month ago.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to wonder what's that down to. Part of it, like they played West Ham, who have been terrible.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time on Everton. West Ham have gone under our radar, but West Ham are just as much of a shambles, it seems.
Yeah, and
both
then,
on and off the pitch.
Yeah, but then they went to City and they came the closest to beating them as anybody's been all year, you know? They looked like the team that were going to win the game for the first half.
Yeah, and it wasn't just a case of, you know, they went up the other end of the pitch once and they happened to score. They actually had a few chances.
Yeah, and I don't think Adrian had a single save to make in the first half.
Yeah, the first half it was very quiet. I think he had to save one deflected shot from David Silva. I think that was about it.
Yeah, but
and the thing that this match really cemented for me is just how poor Joe Hart has been this season.
Yeah.
Adrian looks so much better in goals.
I mean, yeah, as far as the England team goes, I think Butland's ahead of him. I think Pickford's ahead of him.
Heaton should be ahead of him as well.
I wouldn't be surprised. On current form, he shouldn't even be in the World Cup squad.
You maybe bring him for the experience, but then again, you ask what experience has he got. One of the most embarrassing defeats in England's history isn't the best experience to have.
Yeah, letting in goals like the Wayne Rooney 60-yard one.
That's the second time that. Although the commentator was joking in the West Ham match, I can't remember who it was. I wonder, did Adrian and Joe Hart compare notes on conceding halfway line goals against Wayne Rooney?
I mean, yeah,
Just an oddly unique situation there.
Yeah, a weird coincidence. But I mean, Joe Hart is previous too. You know, he came flying out of the box when Zlatan scored that overhead bicycle kick.
He was the creation of his own downfall there.
Yeah, and I think it's the same again against Rooney. And at that point, how much does it matter when your team's 3-0 down?
Yeah.
But at the same
Still,
time,
just, you look, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, yeah. And I might be biased, but I think I think West Ham definitely made the wrong choice in letting Randolph go. You know, he's
Yeah.
out of Middlesbrough now.
I think Adrian is a good goalkeeper. Like I think it's good that Darren Randolph is in the side where he's definitely the number one. And it's probably better for both Randolph and Adrian because they're so similar on level that they're separated.
True, yeah. It was very hard picking between them last year.
Yeah.
But I don't think Joe Hart's any better. You know?
No, Joe Hart's a step down from those things.
Yeah.
And it's weird. Like, is it a confidence issue or is it just he's not actually that good a goalkeeper?
I mean, for a while there with City, he looked like one of the best in the world, you know?
Yeah, like that performance against Barcelona in the Champions League was a
Yeah.
great performance, but that's the only standout one I can think of when it comes to Joe Hart.
I mean, it wasn't even so many standout performances as he just seemed to have a good head in his shoulders. He kind of led
He
the
seemed
team.
calm.
Yeah, from a very young age.
He had Vincent Kompany in front of him.
That helps. That does help. But at the same time, Kasper Schmeichel played for Man City for a while. And Joe Hart just phased him out of the team, you know?
Yeah, he always looked better than Kasper. I think Kasper's grown in the last few years as well. Like,
I'd agree.
Taking that step down really helped Kasper, I think.
I'd agree. And right now, definitely Schmeichel's the better keeper.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. But at the same time, you know, at that point, I think Joe Hart's a better keeper than either of them are right now. I think he's really declined.
Yeah.
You know? But West Ham's problems aren't all down to Joe Hart.
Yeah, they're like David Moyes is at the club, first of all, which seems like the biggest problem of all.
Yeah.
He just seems devoid of any confidence at the moment. Although maybe this Man City performance will spur on this West Ham team.
Maybe, but I mean, what good is being a glorious loser when it comes to the relegation battle? You don't want glorious losers. You need men like Big Sam. You need, you know,
but Big
plucky
Sam's already
winners.
been at West Ham and they hated him.
Yeah, but he kept them up.
Yeah, like, I don't think he'd go back there, though.
No, not a hope. He's at Everton now. He's hardly going to leave again.
Yeah.
No, I mean, West Ham do look like one of the weaker teams, and I think if anything will save him, it'll be that 3 other teams were worse, you know?
Yeah.
I think West Ham do have enough good players to hit a level where they shouldn't be relegated, if they can get those players in form again.
Yeah.
Andy Carroll's a very good forward, you know.
Yeah, he's just not shown it over the last year and a half.
Yeah, yeah. But I think a lot of that is him being distracted. I don't know. I don't see...
He's been in and out of the team with injuries as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's hard on a player.
Yeah, exactly. He's made of glass, but when he's firing, I think he's one of the better forwards, definitely for a team in the bottom half. They've Pedro Obiang in midfield, who's looked quite good a lot of the time and looked quite terrible the rest of the time.
Yeah, the whole team is just inconsistent, I find.
Yeah, they've all got bits of that. But I mean, it's just a matter of, you know, hitting their stride against the weaker teams, because really they should be beating the weaker teams, you know, on paper.
Yeah, and like, look at the stadium they have as well. Like, it's supposed to see 60,000. Like, they came into that last season. It was supposed to be the thing that brought them to the next level, but they've just kind of stepped down ever since.
I think the stadium's almost hurt them, if anything.
Yeah.
You know, the running track around it doesn't help. That's always helped, like, destroy the atmosphere in a stadium.
Yeah, there have been matches where the atmosphere is fantastic. I always think of the Tottenham win, or the win against Tottenham at the end of last season, I think it was. Like, the atmosphere that night was amazing.
Yeah.
But they just haven't been able to replicate that consistently.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just West Ham fans not taking to the ground the same way they did.
Yeah, like,
you know?
there were problems from day one with the whole standing and sitting down issues, stewards and whatnot. And then there was the Chelsea match in the League Cup not long after they started, where fans started attacking each other.
Yeah.
And I don't think Chelsea fans were even involved in that.
No, that was just West Ham fans attacking each other. Yeah, that's a sorry state.
But like, looking at the other clubs down there, like, as you said, Swansea seem to be the only genuinely bad team on paper.
Yeah.
But even then, I think they have a good coach that
even then,
counteracts that.
I'd fully agree. I think Paul Clement's a good coach.
They just sold all their good players in the summer and didn't replace them.
I mean, he kept them up last year when they were looking almost certain to be relegated. And I mean, what did the club, like, the owners in return sold Loriente and Sigurdsson?
Yeah, like, I think that's what's going to ultimately relegate them if they do go down.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think Clements, I think he's a good manager. He did well with Derby County before being fired.
It just kind of tailed off at the end. I don't know what really happened.
I think the owners said they wanted a different style.
Yeah.
You know, I do know that Derby County's results went downhill after he left.
Yeah, they haven't gotten promoted since.
No. And I think he's done very well last year at Swansea. I do think he's a very much a Mourinho style coach in that he focuses on getting his team's defensive structure right and sort of lets them go with it when they're attacking.
Yeah.
And that works when you've Sigurdsson up front.
But they just don't have anyone up front.
No.
Like Tammy Abraham is in the box waiting for some kind of supply, but it's not getting to him.
Tammy Abraham's a very good poacher.
Yeah.
But he doesn't create much on his own.
Yeah, and you can't expect him to do that either.
No, that's not the type of striker he is.
Yeah.
He needs somebody making chances for him to finish. And if you make enough chances, he will take a couple of them, you know?
Yeah.
They don't have anybody creating those chances. They have absolutely no creativity throughout that team.
And I think that's ultimately going to be their downfall. But then you look at teams like Palace and then teams like only thinking of the newly promoted teams right now.
I mean, I wouldn't completely rule them out of being relegated. West Brom.
West Brom, that's what I was trying to think of. Crystal Palace and West Brom, and they just seem like they're not that well run at the moment. It seems like they don't have a clear vision of what's going on at the club.
Palace, definitely. They wanted to change attitudes with Frank de Boer. They brought in Roy Hodgson. The results have taken a short-term uptick. Well, not even the results, but the performances, I think, have looked a little better.
You look at their squad, they have Andros Tanzen on one wing. They have Wilfred Zaha, one of the best players in the league, I think, or in his position anyway.
I'd agree.
And then Christian Benteke up front. Like, that's a really threatening front three that they have. They have Johan Kabay in the middle as well. Like, they have a really solid defence. Big Sam really helped shore up the defence last season. Sacco has been huge for that. But then when they actually get out on the pitch, they look terrible.
Yeah. No, like, they've a lot of good players. And, I mean, I think bringing in Frank de Boer was just completely the wrong choice. Not because he's a bad manager, but because he's got a style that's not suited to the players at the club.
It's just such a huge change.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't expect him to fix that in 4 matches.
Yeah, and I mean, they brought in players who suited his style of football, and he had to try and meld them with players who didn't suit his style of football. And now Roy Hodgson's come in. He's bringing it back to the old style of football. You know, he's bringing it back to what the guys are good at.
There.
Exactly. I mean, that is the sign of a club who are prioritising survival over anything. And I think at this point, what might be best for Crystal Palace is going down, having a plan on how to get back and carrying it out. Because
that's what I thought they should have done. I thought that they should have kept Frank de Boer. I think I mentioned this at the time on the podcast, is they should have kept Frank de Boer and just accepted relegation, because that would have been a clear vision for the club. Yeah,
and I think if they'd done that with, like, they're based in London, they're an attractive club to move to.
Yeah.
With the parachute payments they'd get from the Premier League.
They've just today announced plans to increase capacity in the stadium as well.
Yeah, I mean, and Frank de Boer is a good manager. He hasn't had a good time at Inter. He hasn't had a good time at Palace, but I think he is a good manager. And if you get somebody competent like that in charge, if you have a good plan, you can survive going down and come back up. Burnley did it. I mean,
Burnley's a great example. Yeah. Newcastle even as well.
Newcastle did it. Yeah, Newcastle accepted their relegation. Rafa, I think it's a coup for them to keep Rafa on through relegation.
Absolutely great to have Rafa there. Like, he's a fantastic manager.
Yeah, and even if you look at Huddersfield and Brighton, the two clubs that came up, they never went down, but they did have, like, Brighton have been focusing on getting promoted for the last 3 years.
At least,
but not in the way of, like, just getting promotion. I think the first 2 years...
They stuck with Houghton despite the failures to go up before then.
Yeah, but the first 2 years I don't even think they were targeting promotion. They were targeting bringing in players, creating a style of football that would eventually lead to promotion.
Yeah.
That's what they were aiming at. They weren't saying, if we don't get promoted this year, like some of the other teams, Leeds seem to do it every year, you know, this is our year, we'll get promoted this year. You don't always have to focus on that. They laid the foundations for a year or two, then really made a burst for it last year, and they got it. And I think Huddersfield did the same thing with Wagner. You know,
It was a bit quicker with Wagner, but they were very smart to bring in Wagner.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's been a great appointment for them, and I think all the fans of their club would agree. You know, they're living in dreamland right now.
Yeah, like
because
they should be the favourites to get relegated. But you look at the team, on paper, and you think, oh, that's not really the best team. But Wagner is in there, and you can you just have faith that Wagner could keep them up. Like if they stay up, that's a miracle, really.
Absolutely, because when they came up, they were by far the worst of the promoted teams.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and they'd scored less goals, they conceded more.
They had a negative goal difference.
They had a negative goal difference. Like, they didn't have any striker who scored, 20 to 30 goals in the Championship. And we've seen, with all the teams that come up, you can't rely too much on one striker.
Yeah.
To score all your goals, like you can get away with in the Championship. But at the same time, you need one or two who have a big output. You need at least two or three players scoring 15 to 20 goals when you get promoted. And Huddersfield didn't have that. They were getting a lot of players, scoring, up to 10, 15 goals.
They were
in the Championship. You can get away with that. In the Premier League, those chances don't come. The chances they're scoring goals from...
you get eaten alive.
Exactly. They looked like they were going to have big problems scoring goals. They looked like they weren't going to be all that good at, stopping people from scoring on them.
Yeah, like after that Tottenham match, I really, I was worried for their hopes of staying up, really.
Yeah.
But then comparing that to their performance against both Manchester clubs, like they actually went out and beat Manchester United.
Yeah.
Like that was the first time that someone had beaten United this season, and then similarly they came very close to beating Manchester City not that long after. Yeah,
I mean, like all that I was saying earlier, that's what it should have been like, but so far they've done well. They've looked like they belong here, Maybe they'll still end up getting relegated.
I think it could be a very Blackpool situation of they're very good, they look like they'll stay up at Christmas, and then it just kind of falls apart by the end.
Yeah, but I think they'll definitely have more success than Blackpool, who were a terribly run club at the same time. Like, they're smart in how they're being run. I don't think they've gone too far beyond their means in the transfer market this year either.
Yeah, and like the money that they have gotten is going to be enough to keep them, like, if they do go down, they'll be a steady top of the table club in the Championship.
Yeah, I absolutely see them coming straight back up. I mean,
if they keep David Wagner, I think that's the big worry for them.
Even if they don't, if they get somebody in his style,
a
good enough manager to keep it on.
Plenty of those young German coaches that they can get to.
I mean, I think
disciples of Klopp.
Yeah, I think it was a really good idea looking abroad. Especially to Germany for a coach. Because
there's so much chaos in the Championship. Being orderly and organised can be a huge advantage.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a very tough league, the Championship, We've seen it with some of the teams that have gone down. Sunderland mightn't be the best example because of how much mess they were.
Even Aston Villa, Middlesbrough, when they went down initially 10 years ago, it took them so long to get back up.
Norwich are still down.
Took Wolves being bought by George Mendes to get close to promotion. Cardiff are still down.
Yeah, and even the teams that have gone down this year don't look too good. Sunderland are bottom. Bottom.
I think they're still bottom. Yeah, they lost at the weekend to Reading.
Yeah, I mean, Hull haven't been terrible, but
they just sacked Leonid Slutsky this week.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably not going up.
No, they're going to be mid-table at least, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why it's so important to have your idea of how you're going to get back up. Yeah. And Huddersfield, having done it, they know what it takes. And they can get there. And I think that was the big achievement of last year in getting here. All that said, I think Newcastle are more likely to go down than them now.
Yeah, Newcastle, they haven't spent any money.
No,
it's costing them.
I mean, Rafa Benitez, first of all, has a good eye for talent.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't quite say that. Some of the Liverpool signings he made were terrible.
Well, some of them were good, though.
All right, I mean, Xabi Alonso on the one side, Alberto Aquilani. But I mean, he can spot talent. He has maybe not quite as good a record as I was going to say, but he is also very good at developing that talent. He's not being backed the way he should. I think after staying with them in the Championship, he deserved everything that Mike Ashley could throw at him.
Yeah.
You know, I think he deserved to make a real proper go of staying up.
But Mike Ashley just seems so apathetic. Like, the club is up for sale.
Again, yeah.
And, like, it looks like if they do get bought by Amanda Staveley, that she won't give him money in January to help them stay up.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I don't see how Newcastle could not be making more money than they've spent recently.
They've one of the biggest stadiums in England as well.
I mean, yeah, they make a lot of money from their fans. They're
there's so much money in the Premier League.
Yeah, they're guaranteed 120 million or something just for playing in the Premier League, you know? I know a lot of it goes in salary, but they've only spent 40 million or something in the summer.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot get away with that little, you know? You just flat out... Maybe they can, but I mean, Rafa deserves better. You know,
yeah, he does.
After the jobs, I'm sure he had plenty of opportunities when Newcastle got relegated. He stuck with them. He brought them straight back up. I think that loyalty deserves to be rewarded.
Yeah, you're spot on.
Yeah, with some proper backing from the owners. And I think if he got it, they'd be nowhere near relegation.
Oh yeah, they'd be with Watford and Burnley.
I think so. Yeah, they'd be pushing for Europa League.
Yeah, and like Newcastle should be there. Like you think of the name Newcastle, you think they should be in that area of the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, they've got one of the best managers of the bottom teams.
Yeah.
You know, without a doubt. So I think it's absolutely foolish that they're not backing. I think, the owners say, "Oh, we're good enough to stay up regardless." I'm not sure that.
Yeah, the team on paper it's fine, but I think in comparison to other teams, it's not as good.
Yeah, I mean, they've also had some bad injuries. Lascelles.
They look totally different without him at the back. Like they were playing Chelsea the weekend and. Just they didn't seem to know what a cross even was.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing to see them defend like that. And with Lascelles, you'd think they wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, he's absolutely one of their best players. But at the same time, you know, I think they're being silly. They could be safe if they had spent a bit more over the summer. You know, even another 20 million,
and
2 more
players. The money they would have spent saves them the money they lose by going down.
Exactly.
Ridiculous thing.
I don't think they'll go down in the end, but I think the only reason it's even a question is because the owner's attitude towards the club.
Yeah. But who do you think will go down then? It's a tough question.
It is. I mean, it's very hard to see some of the teams staying up regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, Swansea, I think it's going to take a miracle from Clement to keep them up.
I think they're nailed on at the moment.
Yeah,
Obviously, things could rapidly change. This time last year, I probably would have said Swansea are nailed on as well, and they stayed up.
Yeah, and it depends a lot on the January transfer window. Because while you won't see as many big deals happening, you know, big clubs don't sign as many players, there will be a lot done for the smaller clubs in the league at that time. You know, I think some good moves there could make or break a season. I think West Brom are looking in trouble. You know, I'll wait to see.
Yeah, because they have Alan Pardew now. It is kind of hard to say how they'll do for the rest of the season.
Exactly. If they get Alan Pardew, who was in charge of Newcastle when they finished 5th, that's a fantastic signing.
Yeah.
If they get Alan Pardew,
that's been a while though since that's happened.
If they get Alan Pardew with 5 wins in 40 games at Crystal Palace,
they're gone.
They're gone. Yeah. So I'll postpone judgment on them.
But what about Stoke? We didn't mention Stoke, even though I think they are very poor at the moment.
They are very poor at the moment. Like, they have a squad full of Champions League winners, and they are poor. You know.
But is it the squad or is it Mark Hughes? He's been there 5 years now.
I mean, that is a long time in the Premier League. And I think he's a good manager, you know?
I just think he runs out of ideas and there's not much he can do.
I'd fairly agree. I think the spark is gone. When he came in, his job was to change it from a pewless ball side to a side that could play football.
I think he's done that.
For the most part, he has.
They're not the rugby team, as Wenger put it, that they were back when Pulis was there.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. I think they're changed. I think they changed for the better. I think Mark Hughes has done a lot for the club, and I think he's running out of steam. I think he's run out of steam, not running out of steam.
So Sparky's lost his spark.
Yes. I think what's best for Mark Hughes is to take a year-long break from football. I think what's best for Stoke is to get another younger, energetic manager with a couple of ideas.
From Germany.
Yeah,
that's the suggestion for the whole show. Just get someone in from Germany.
What's the name of that guy just gone from Cologne?
Slutsky from Russia, is it?
No, the Cologne manager.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember his name.
He turned around the whole club, moved them all the way up the table. And
They're bottom of the Bundesliga, though.
right, it ran out of steam this season.
Yeah.
But even Jurgen Klopp was bottom of the Bundesliga for a while.
That's a fair point, actually. I'll take that one.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think Stoke will go down. I think
they could. If they stick with Mark Hughes, I genuinely think they could go down.
They absolutely could. I think Mark Hughes deserves more from the club than to get fired in the middle of the season. I know football doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I could easily see him getting fired.
I could see it happening. I hope it doesn't. I think he deserves more. He's
been a good servant for the club.
I think he deserves to leave on mutual terms at the end of the season.
And he definitely deserves a handshake.
Yes, absolutely. But no, he's done a lot for the club, but I think his time was up this summer. You know, I think that was the best time to leave, and I mean, I don't see them getting relegated. They can, absolutely, they can, but I think it would take some of the other teams around them to improve standards in a way that I don't see them doing.
So, who are the 3 teams? Give me 3 names.
Oh, if your name
on the spot,
okay. If Pardew doesn't work out, West Brom.
Okay.
If Pardew does work out. Swansea probably anyways.
Yeah.
West Ham probably anyways.
Okay.
And sad as I would be to see it, probably Huddersfield.
So you think Roy Hodgson is going to turn things around at Palace?
I mean, the performances have been a lot better. I know the points haven't started coming in yet, but I think a lot of people underestimate Roy Hodgson because he had a terrible run at Liverpool.
I don't think I underestimate him. I just think I think he's a bit old. I think his time is done.
I can see that, yeah, but a lot of people don't give him the credit he deserves.
No, he did fantastically with Fulham back in the day, and even West Brom. Like, that's what got him the England job.
Well, the thing is, people talk about that. They never talk about the fact that he's one of the most decorated managers.
Yeah, he did fantastically in Sweden. Yeah. Or not Sweden, Switzerland.
Norway, Sweden, Switzerland. He's one of the best.
He was one of the managers at USA 94.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best.
Stylish sunglasses.
Yeah, he's one of the best managers. As far as English managers go, he's got the best record abroad out of any of them.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely.
He's
cool to see someone go abroad.
It is, yeah, and I mean, it was revolutionary at the time.
Yeah,
you know?
like it still kind of is.
It still is. Yeah,
no one else has done it.
Big Sam has never won a trophy.
Yeah,
you know, he's a great firefighter.
He's won the 40-point.
He's won the 40-point trophy.
Pulis.
Yeah, Pulis. But I mean, they haven't gone and actually won a league. Hodgson's done that. You know, I think he's kind of underestimated. At the same time, that's just my belief in Crystal Palace's good players, like Zaha, who you mentioned. You said he's one of the best in the league. I'd agree. You know, he's a fantastic player. I think Sakho's a great player. Kabay is a great player. Benteke is a great player.
They probably have one of the better squads on paper in the league.
Yeah,
they're just not living up to it.
Yeah, I think it'll take another 2 or 3 weeks for them to properly sort themselves out. But I think after that, you know, they'll put together 3 or 4 wins. Maybe over Christmas, maybe in January. I think they'll properly start pushing themselves out of the hole, and they'll finish 14th in the end.
Okay. I'm going to give you my 3 as well. I'm going to say Swansea, just because, like we've said, they don't inspire confidence.
The team don't look good enough.
Yeah, I think that what's the name? I've forgotten the name. I had the 3 lined up, ready to go 2 minutes ago. We were just talking. Palace are going to go down, and I think Stoke are going to go down. That's what I'm trying to think of. I think the 3 promoted teams will just do enough.
Yeah, we're all happy enough with Newcastle and Brighton.
Yeah,
Brighton have looked very good, to be honest. I don't think they're in any danger.
Yeah, I think Brighton will. I underestimated Brighton. I think that will do us for our topic of the show. Join us for part 3, where we will dissect one of the craziest matches I can remember in the Premier League. Simply too much happened at the Emirates on Saturday evening for us to discuss it in the news. So this week we're going to dedicate this closing segment of the show to what was undoubtedly a classic. It's the first £1 billion match according to financial analysts Visible, which is to say that it's a match between 2 teams whose combined revenue for the past season was £1 billion. So let's run through the many events of this match in chronological order. First, United quickly just tore apart Arsenal 2-0 in 11 minutes.
Yeah, but that's not down to United being good. That's down to Arsenal's defence being absolutely dire. You know, they were two gifts.
Yeah, they were. Like you look at the first goal is just schoolboy error. Like Koscielny, a crossfield pass across the face of goal, you don't do that.
No.
Like not with no one behind you.
That gets coached out of you at under 12s.
Yeah, like I remember being told that at the age of 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And then Valencia intercepts the pass. He gives it to Pogba. And then at least 4 Arsenal players swarm him, including Monreal, who leaves Valencia open for Pogba to just pass it to.
I mean, that hurt me to watch. You know, I was looking at the TV and you could see it. You could see it coming back into.
Yeah, and I thought Valencia had messed up on hitting it first time, but it was a good finish.
It was. He did well, but I mean, at the same time, those were gifts. Those were absolute gifts.
And then a bit more credit can be given to United, I think, for the second goal, just because of the link-up play and Martial's set up for the second goal.
True.
But again, Mustafi just caught napping. Like, that's so schoolboy.
But the whole reason that this was such an entertaining game is because United didn't spoil it the way they sometimes do against big teams.
The 2-0 actually benefited this match,
bizarrely
enough. Normally you would think an early goal for a Mourinho team would kill the game completely. Yeah. But it because Arsenal just needed to get back in the game so much, it benefited the match overall.
But I think part of the reason Mourinho didn't, they played defensively enough, but I think the reason he didn't, properly, play 10 men back and one up front.
We'll never really know how he was going to, we'll have an idea. But Mourinho.
I don't think he even would have. What I'm trying to say is I think that Mourinho's normal tactic against big teams wasn't even going to come out today.
Yeah, but that's the pity, though. We'll never know.
We'll never know, but, the reason I think it wasn't is because Arsenal have those defensive errors in them all the time.
I think Mourinho doesn't respect Arsenal like he does the other big teams.
And I wouldn't even say he disrespects Arsenal. It's the defence he doesn't respect. Because if you won't see Tottenham giving them up. You won't see City giving them up. You won't see Chelsea giving them up.
You might see Liverpool give up.
You might see Liverpool. But Liverpool's defence is maligned as well, you know?
And you still, Liverpool's attack is better than Arsenal's.
Absolutely, yeah. You wouldn't even see Watford or Burnley give away these.
You certainly wouldn't see Burnley give it away.
Certainly not Burnley. They were gifts. And three in one game. The first two and the last one was just as bad. I mean, Arsenal completely shot themselves in the foot. That was their loss inflicted on them by them, you know?
Yeah.
United played well. I don't mean to completely disparage what they did.
That's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle. I think United did play well, but then for the third goal, or not the third goal, just after the second goal, Mustafi had to go off injured. Iwobi came on. I thought it was an interesting choice. They went to a back four, and then just a siege took place on United's goal.
I mean, I think he had to bring on Iwobi because he needed something going forward.
Yeah, you can't bring on a defender. It's 2-0 down.
Yeah, after 10 minutes, 11 minutes.
Yeah.
But and what happened then really impressed me because Arsenal came back and, I mean, they should have. I don't know how they didn't score in that first half. You know, that entire first a miracle called De Gea. Yeah. I mean, Arsenal deserve so much more out of that because they came into it with a real... I don't know, maybe it's because they had so much time left, but they came into it with a real belief that, yes, we will score, we will get back. And the crowd
kind of helped with that,
The crowd did,
The crowd were very good, I thought, on Saturday.
Yeah, and I mean, for all the abuse this Arsenal team can get, they've been called spineless, they've been called cowards, but that wasn't cowardly. At 2-0 down, they could have completely folded, played a delicate passing game, kept most of the possession and not really threatened. That's not what happened. They went out there and they looked dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea how they didn't end up with at least 2 in the back of the net.
Yeah, I think as most people do at this point, whenever Arsenal lose a game, we go on YouTube and we watch Arsenal Fan TV.
Yeah.
I did the very same. And normally the people that go on that, they tear into the Arsenal team, whether the Arsenal team deserves it or not, even really. But even most of them were credit to De Gea. The players were prideful in the jersey, and that's what mattered. Even those Arsenal fans could see the belief that was there from the players after the 12th minute that they could go and actually equalise. And it was just for fantastic goalkeeping, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, those are the defeats that can help a team in the long run.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's exactly what you need. I don't know, is this one of those times for Arsenal? Because I think they really could have done with the win over a big team, over a Mourinho team.
Yeah, and like now they're fifth.
And now they're fifth. It doesn't help. But it is good to see the character that was in them because...
Yeah, no, after the second goal went in, I was kind of like, oh, are Man United just going to steamroll through Arsenal again now, like the 6-0 with Chelsea for Mourinho?
Yeah, yeah.
But instead they came back and I was on the edge of my seat being like, oh my God, are they actually going to come back here?
I mean, that's the sort of attitude that you need to have to win anything. And I think Arsenal finally have it again, you know?
Yeah.
Or at least this game.
I think a lot of that came through Lacazette as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he was one of the best players on the pitch.
Oh, yeah.
You know, his movement was fantastic. He was finding space, even in a fairly crowded United box. I have no idea how De Gea tipped that close-range shot up onto the crossbar.
Yeah, that was the first kind of like, oh my God, this match is crazy kind of moment. It seemed like Rojo missed the ball. Like the Man United defenders just couldn't seem to clear the ball, and then the Arsenal players couldn't seem to get it in the back of the net. It was a weird kind of combo.
I mean, yeah, it should have been out of there in the first place. But Lacazette, I don't think he did anything wrong in that point.
Yeah,
you know?
just De Gea got his body over the ball.
Yeah, he gave him no space. He did well to tip it onto the crossbar.
Like there were 3 United players on the ball or on the line.
Yeah, but then the ball stayed in the box for another 10 seconds or so.
Yeah, and like Granit Xhaka took a shot. I think if he puts that on target, De Gea saving it.
Yeah,
because you can see De Gea like with the curvature of the ball, he's with it.
Yeah. Like most of the time, you'd think, the keeper wouldn't have got to that from that distance. But like honestly, the way De Gea was playing yesterday, like Lacazette was very good. Like the fact that he's only got 1 goal is no disparagement on him. He was
it's
very
almost
good.
Impressive considering how De Gea played. He like found a way through De Gea. Oh my God.
Yeah. And that way, I mean, it was a fantastic Arsenal goal.
Yeah, like before that, there was a chance at Lukaku in the first half just to end the first half.
Yes.
Like I know Lukaku's desperate for goals, but this is taking it a little too far, I think.
I mean, would that have been his first goal against one of the top 6?
This season, anyway. I think he's gotten a few for Everton.
Oh, I mean, what a save. What a save.
Yeah, like I thought it had gone in, and then I thought there was a handball somewhere. I don't think there was. But
I think that save shows off De Gea's biggest strengths as a keeper.
Yeah, because you get low there. Yeah. Like if that's Joe Hart, like not to kind of go back to the well and making fun of Joe Hart, but Joe Hart's not saving that.
Forget Joe Hart. I don't think Manuel Neuer's saving that.
It's a good debate to have there, but yeah.
Like I think De Gea is the best shot stopper in the world, and I think that shows why.
I think he's the best keeper in the world at this point. Like that, with that kind of performance,
I mean,
like he made 14 saves.
I mean, he's the best in a traditional sense of what a keeper is.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. I think he's the best shot stopper in the world because
his distribution isn't as good as Neuer's, but again, Neuer is basically a midfielder who's also got very good reflexes.
Yeah, and it also depends on what your team needs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think United's defence is quite as strong as some of the other top 4s.
Not currently. Like, I think when Bailly is there,
when
Bailly is
back,
calmer,
yes,
but he seems
definitely.
just made of glass as well.
Yeah. No, but I think right now, De Gea is having more shots on him than most of them, which obviously will help a keeper look better.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's saving so many more of those than you can reasonably expect him to save. You know, that Lukaku one, his reflexes, because that bounces off his knee.
Yeah,
like the knee's not straight. You have no
Lukaku's
idea where that's going.
Over. I don't think he's fouled. Like I think he's just literally falling over.
Yeah, but like that can go anywhere. That shot can literally go anywhere. De Gea's like there's nothing. You know, a lot of the time, if somebody's shooting from wherever, you can see with the way their foot goes back and the way they're coming through, you have an idea where it's going. You know, he's shooting to my left or he's shooting to my right, so you can start moving.
You don't know what the ball's going to do with the way it hits his leg.
Exactly. He had no idea. And he just, like, the reflexes to get a hand to that were incredible. Like, that was as impressive a save as I've seen all season.
Yeah, I don't even think it was the best save of that match. But we'll move to the second half then. We mentioned Arsenal's goal. I remain convinced that if Aaron Ramsey had shot with that ball instead of laying it off for Lacazette, that De Gea would have saved it. I'm convinced.
It depends. De Gea was stuck on the right side of his goal, I think.
Yeah.
I think if Ramsey flicks it like sort of back the way he's come, I can see it. I
still think De Gea. Like I don't think it's a certain goal.
It's not a certain goal. I don't know, was he purposely laying it off to Lacazette?
I'm still not sure, yeah, but then...
it was definitely the right option.
Yeah, it was.
Whether he wanted to or not. I mean, and that's fantastic play by Lacazette.
Yeah.
Because everybody, all the United line...
everyone went to sleep.
Yeah, the United line has assumed it's offside.
Yeah.
Like, and whether
play
it's...
to the whistle.
Exactly.
We're talking about schoolboy errors with Arsenal, but that's a schoolboy error.
Yeah, and I'm sure Mourinho was furious with them for it. Like, he will not stand for that. But, I mean, everybody's gone to sleep. And the Arsenal players have done it too. It happened later in the game with the penalty appeal. We'll get to that. But, like, everybody's gone to sleep, Arsenal players included. Lacazette's the only one who keeps moving. You know, he figures that if
the ball's there.
Exactly, the ball's there. If I'm behind Ramsey, I'm onside. He has the presence of mind to think of that. And, I mean, I'm sure he more expected a rebound off De Gea than the pass.
Yeah.
But...
it was just such a... like, I was like, what is Ramsey doing?
Yeah.
I was so confused.
Yeah. And, I mean, with Lacazette's movement, he had so much time. He had, like...
oh, yeah, he had 5 or 6
it's
seconds.
unbelievable. Yeah, there's 8 yards between the keeper and his centre-back. And, you know, Lacazette's found 5 seconds in there to place the ball where he likes.
But it seemed like that was the only way they were going to get past De Gea, is if they just literally a one-on-one inside the 6-yard box or just outside it, where De Gea has no hope.
Yeah, and even then they had enough chances from 6 yards or from 8 yards.
Yeah, because then not long after that, United hit the post with Lingard, and then Arsenal went up the other end of the pitch again. It was such a bizarre match. And Lacazette first has the shot, and it's a great save down to his right. And then Sanchez, I think this is the most incredible save. Sanchez from 2 yards hits it, and De Gea gets his foot up, and I still don't know how he managed to get up that quickly and save it.
I mean, that was another absolutely unbelievable save.
That's a 2-1.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, if that goal goes in, I think Arsenal win the game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Lingard down the other end, again got the chance because of shoddy enough Arsenal defending. Petr Cech had to come all the way off his line.
And you don't often see Petr Cech do that, even
not,
when he should.
He's not that type of a keeper. He doesn't like that at all. And I think Arsenal were quite lucky to still be in the game.
Yeah, and even then, like the ball is bouncing towards the post, but you're not sure is it going to go in, is it going to hit the post, and Bayern just watches it.
Yeah.
He's very lucky there.
I saw that, and I mean, all right, I understand. You don't want to rush in and accidentally hit the ball when it bounces off the post.
But again, you're not sure.
Yeah, you need to do something. You need to get closer, because he was standing there looking at it, and if there was a United player coming in over his shoulder...
Martial was right behind him.
Exactly. If Martial was closer, I think Martial takes that off Bellerin's toe. Because Bellerin's not looking around him. He's just looking at the ball going, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh. Thank God. That's what he's doing. He's not looking at it and thinking,
he was
how
lucky
can
that
I get this
Monreal
away?
was right behind him as well, because Monreal was the one that made the block then. And I think if Monreal's not there, that's 3-1.
Yeah, I think so too, yeah. And game dead at that point.
And the game was dead once Lingard did go up the other end of the pitch and convert his chance this time.
Yeah.
And like Pogba... we'll get into what Pogba did later in the match, but I thought up to this point Pogba had been playing well. He did well to set up the first goal, but this is when Pogba really came into his own.
I mean, yeah, this was fantastic from Pogba. But, like I said earlier, I think this is the worst of the 3 that Arsenal conceded. Because Koscielny, who's the senior centre-back there, he's Arsenal's best defender.
Oh, he's the leader there. He's supposed to be one of the best centre-backs in the league.
And I mean, he's one-on-one with Pogba. And he jumps in at him.
I thought it was a penalty initially. I thought Pogba was going to go down. And
I think if Pogba had gone down, it was a penalty. Because, he caught his foot. He jumped in, missed the ball, caught his foot, saw that, so he leaned into him instead, like trying to shoulder him off the ball. Didn't even manage to win that test of strength. Pogba goes past him like it's no bother. And I mean, I was just looking at that and thinking, he's done 4 or 5 of the worst things you can do in a one-on-one.
Yeah.
Like, he needs to stand him up. He needs to slow him down. He needs to show him to the side.
We're talking about schoolboy errors again. And this time even Pogba makes him look like a schoolboy.
Yeah. I mean, that was absolutely terrible from Monreal. But, it didn't help that when I think it was Bellerin and Monreal in the box then for Pogba's cross in.
Yeah.
I can't remember was Bellerin or Monreal, but one of them was stood on the edge of the 6-yard box, right?
Yeah.
So he's looking around him. Pogba's out on the corner, right by the byline.
Yeah.
There is one United player in the box. All you have to do is mark that United player. Get between him and the ball.
It was Kolasinac.
Kolasinac. All he needs to do is get between the ball and Lingard.
Oh, it might have been Xhaka.
Whoever it was. Yeah. The thing is, we're not able to say which Arsenal player it is because they all have a tendency to do this. He was stood ball watching. All he needs to do is get between his man and the ball, because there's one United player in the box.
Yeah.
There was two within 30 yards of the goal. There was nothing on apart from that pass.
And it was a great pass from Pogba.
It was a fantastic pass from Pogba.
It was just such an odd finish from Lingard, the way the ball bounced into the net, and Lingard's gone off before it's even hit the net. It was...
But I mean, he shouldn't have been allowed that chance. He made the most of it. United did very well at making the most of their chances.
They were so clinical. And that's so different to what they were last year when you think of
all the chances they missed.
They were in Arsenal's position many times last year, and the exact same thing happened. They drew or they lost.
Yeah.
This season they're the team that's finishing their chances. They're so much more clinical, and that's why they're second instead of sixth this year.
Definitely. I don't think the performances have even changed all that much. They just have got a bit more clinical.
Not really. Lukaku's given them an extra edge. Like the link-up play between the front three on Saturday was amazing. Really, it was a far cry from seeing Zlatan drop to the centre circle and this slow build-up that was very methodical without actually being methodical. Like there's no real rhyme or reason. Yeah,
no, I'd agree. And I mean, United they were very, very clinical, and that's what it takes. That's his teams always looked like that. They always look like they'll punish you for any mistakes they'll make.
Yeah.
And I think United finally have a sense of that. You go in thinking if we make mistakes against United, they will punish us. Which they didn't have, I would say, even since Ferguson, since Ferguson left.
They've definitely been lacking that.
They've been lacking that, and that brings a bit of the fear factor and the intimidation of having to play United back again. And I think that only helps, especially when you're doing it away to Arsenal.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the harder
United
matches.
needed a performance against one of the top six away from home, and
Absolutely.
they got it.
Yeah.
But then we're praising Pogba 1 minute. We have to give out about him now, criticise him, because that was the red card on the 72nd minute. No doubt about it, I think it's a red card.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question, is it a red or not?
Because today United announced that they won't be appealing the red card decision. I thought that was a bit weird that they were even asked.
Yeah. I mean, do you remember... Was it David Luiz or Gary Cahill got sent off in the first game of the year against Burnley for Chelsea?
Yeah.
You remember, it was 9 minutes in. It was almost the exact same thing. Touches the ball a bit too far. Goes, the Burnley defender comes up to win it. Cahill still thinks he can win it. Lunges in for it. Goes over the top.
But
catches
the ball
the man.
hadn't even gotten away from Pogba at that point. It was just Bayern. It was such an unfortunate incident.
I know the
Bayern goes down in such an awkward way. I'm not blaming Bayern or anything. I think it is a red card. I just don't think Pogba is expecting it.
I mean, I can see that Pogba's not expecting that, but if Bellerin has time to go down in that way, he has time to kick the ball away. What I'm saying is the ball was gone too far. If Bellerin has time to do that and block it, the ball has gone too far for Pogba to get it. His touch is too heavy. He's lost the ball. When you lose the ball, when you lose control of it, you can't go in like that. And that's why he's got sent off, because he was reckless. Because he went over the top of the ball when the ball ran away from him. And I mean, I can't give out to him too much. It's not intentional,
no,
obviously.
I don't think it is.
No, he's genuinely making an attempt.
He's not looking at Bayern at all.
No, he's genuinely making an attempt to win back the ball that he's let go a bit too far. But as a player, you got to know when it's gone too far and you have to go back to defending the ball because you lost it. And I think, it's just a little bit of a lack of sense, a little bit of rush of blood, a little bit of I've been playing really well, I can make this, a little bit of all those things, and it's going to cost United because he's out for the derby.
Yeah, that was the point I was just going to make. He's out of the derby. I don't think it necessarily means United are going to lose the derby.
I don't either, but
I still think they will lose the derby.
Yeah, no. Mourinho, I've said before, Pogba gives him options.
Yeah,
and I think we saw that today. They have just a lot more attacking threat while being defensive when Paul Pogba is on the pitch.
He just gives them the link between defence and attack.
Exactly.
That
because
no one else at United seems to give them.
Yeah, because he's a harder runner than almost any of the United midfielders.
Yeah.
And because he's still a good technical player. A lot of United players, attacking midfielders, are one or the other,
Yeah.
Lingard is a really hard worker. Maybe not quite as good technically. Mata is fantastic technically. Maybe not quite as hard a worker.
Yeah.
Nobody has the balance of that the way Pogba does.
Yeah, he is the ultimate box-to-box midfielder in a club that doesn't have any other than him.
Yeah, and I think, I think City were going to win the derby anyway.
Yeah, I don't think this will change the result.
No, but
But any excitement I had for the derby because of this Arsenal match kind of went out the window the second as Pogba.
Yeah, because I mean,
off.
do you remember how Chelsea beat Man City last year? It was 2-1, wasn't it?
It was 3-1 at the Etihad.
3-1, yeah. It was an absolute robbery.
Yeah.
You know, City were completely in control.
They went up the pitch 3 times and they scored 3 times.
Exactly.
Like
that is the template for how a Mourinho United team is going to beat City.
And I don't think they'll be able to do that without Pogba.
Because, like, who's the man? With Chelsea, it was Hazard, but that was only because, you know, he was released defensively.
Yeah.
He didn't have to do any defensive work. He was the threat going forward. And Costa, you know, you've a human wrecking ball and a great technical player. They can do it against 4 on their own on the break, and Chelsea's other 8 were good enough defending.
Yeah.
United with Bailly out,
Jones
out. I don't think their defence is as good as that Chelsea one. I think they'll need an extra body back.
And like Fellaini's out as well.
Fellaini's
if they had Fellaini, you think, they have that extra body. And Fellaini's good enough to just pass a simple 6-yard pass to Lingard, who can run off with it. And Lingard's in phenomenal form at the moment. He scored 2 of the goals against Arsenal. One of them had one of the weirdest bounces of the ball I've seen, the way it hit the post and the camera and then just went back out. It was weird.
United aren't as good as that Chelsea team were that day defensively. United aren't as good going forward. I don't see them. And City are better. City are a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't see
City
them winning.
had chances in that match. Like Kevin De Bruyne hit the post at 1-0, crossbar at 1-0. Like, if he scores that, it's over.
You play that 10 times, City win 8 or 9.
Yeah.
You know? And I think, you know, United will be hoping for the same. I mean, although City haven't looked quite as dominant,
I think the last 3 matches have given them a very good practice session for this United match.
That's what I'd be worried about. They didn't look almost as focused, and I don't think that'll be a problem against Manchester United.
Pep will get them geared up. Like, they're at Old Trafford.
In a big derby match. Mourinho gets in a lot of trouble for playing as negatively as he does away. I don't think the Old Trafford crowd are going to like this.
I think they're just going to have to put up with it for the one match.
And I think they'll understand it too. I mean, I see United playing very defensively.
I think it could go very like last year's derby.
Yeah.
But then going back to the Arsenal match, I think it was the 89th minute, Danny Welbeck is fouled inside the box. It should have been a penalty. It's not given.
Oh, the penalty for Arsenal, yes, that was... I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that wasn't given. I mean, the players couldn't believe it either.
I think Danny Welbeck just kept going, though. It was weird. It seemed like that could have been the problem, that Danny Welbeck did just keep going.
Welbeck was about the only player on the pitch, because
everyone froze.
Yeah, we got a long view camera, and everybody just stopped. You know, they were waiting for the whistle, and everybody was confused when it didn't come. And I mean, first of all, I'd say they got almost as much of a dressing down for Mourinho for that as they did for switching off the goal.
Yeah.
Because I can't see him being happy about his whole team kind of going, oh.
Yeah.
But, first of all, it was a definite penalty.
Yeah.
He caught the leg, came through, followed through. You know, Welbeck was off his feet. It's a clear penalty. I don't know why it wasn't given. I think it was too late to make a difference to the result.
Yeah, I still think it would have finished 3-2.
It would have finished 3-2.
But you can't be certain.
You can't be certain. I'm fairly certain.
Yeah.
No, but I think that was probably the biggest blemish on the referees.
Yeah, because Marner did have a very good game up to that point. There were just so many decisions that he was bound to get one controversial one wrong.
Yeah, and I think the other one he may have got wrong was the Koscielny yellow card.
Yeah, I think a yellow card was probably the right decision, but I wouldn't have been surprised if he sent off Koscielny as well. If you haven't seen the match yet, this was Lukaku. Koscielny, I don't know what he was doing defensively. The ball bounced up, and Lukaku just bullies him away from the ball, and Koscielny just takes him down 40 yards away from goal. Lukaku kind of one-on-one, but it's 40 yards. Bellerin is there. I think it is just a yellow.
I mean, first of all, it's another chance created because Koscielny's playing terribly defensively.
Yeah, but he was by himself as well.
He was.
What was he to do?
The ball should have gone.
Yeah.
The ball, he tried to take it on his feet. He should have headed it out.
Yeah.
He had time for that. He was one-on-one with Lukaku. He should not have tried to take it down.
You're not going to go aggressively against Lukaku and
exactly.
come out of it the other side looking pretty.
No, I mean, I think that's down to him, first of all, that the situation was even there. But second, he's clearly pulled him down. He is the last man. That's not actually the rule. The rule is a clear goal-scoring opportunity.
And I don't think it was a clear goal-scoring opportunity.
He's 40 yards out. Bellerin is about 5 yards behind, but also lightning quick and closer to the centre.
Like Lukaku is quick as well, but Bellerin is like the quickest player in the league.
Yeah, I think if Koscielny doesn't take him down, Bellerin catches up around the edge of the box.
I think he could still have scored from that opportunity, but it's not clear.
I do, yeah. I think a yellow is enough. I think it's more of a cynical pull down than an actual clear goal-scoring opportunity denied. But it is a controversial call, and another ref on another day would give it a different way, you know?
I could definitely have seen that being given a red card.
Yeah, no, but I don't see that as being a wrong decision, per se, like the penalty was.
Yeah. And then just to close this, the stats I thought were incredible. Arsenal had 75% of possession, 33 shots, 15 on target. De Gea made a joint record amount of saves in the Premier League, 14 saves. I think the most he'd made before that in a Premier League match was 7, which is... That's a lot more.
Yeah.
They had 12 corners. Arsenal had 12 corners. Man United 1, and United had their corner in the second minute of the match. I remember it was the first thing I saw when I turned on the TV. And the expected goals, which is a controversial metric, but we're going to use it anyway. Arsenal's expected goals was 5.01 to Man United's 1.82.
Yeah, expected goals, I think it's not as good as some people say, but it's still worth looking at.
It's interesting to look at.
It is.
Especially when it's such a bizarre match like this.
And especially in this sort of a match where one team has a lot of possession and control and the other team's counter-attacking and trying to get some opportunities. If you're seeing a fairly even one, that shows a match where the counter-attacking team has made good chances and defended quite well.
Yeah.
This wasn't that match.
No,
this is a match that United won because David De Gea is a fantastic goalkeeper.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You're supposed to have a keeper.
Exactly.
And the keeper's job is to stop the other team from scoring.
Exactly.
And that's what he did.
Yeah,
I think United deserved the 3-1 win in the sense that they were clinical with their chances.
Yeah, absolutely. De Gea is a United player. If he's making those saves, United deserve...
that's good scouting on United's part.
Exactly.
Found De Gea.
Yeah, it's Manchester United who have signed De Gea, who've played him, who have developed him, you can't go away saying, you can go away saying they were lucky because they were. You can't go away saying they didn't deserve it because they did. They won it. But Arsenal, like this, they'll have to feel hard done by. They should feel hard done by. They were hard done by. They should have won this match.
And another day they would have.
And another day they would have. And for once, it's not purely because of their players' attitude or whatever, that kind of feeling at the club that they're always fourth. It's not down to that they've lost the match. It's down to De Gea being a fantastic goalkeeper and some big defensive errors.
Yeah, the defensive errors is what really cost them.
Yeah, and that's Arsenal,
Yeah.
I said earlier the other big teams don't do that, Liverpool excluded.
Yeah.
They say that attack wins games, defence wins championships. That's why, because these are silly points to lose. Yeah, you can't always, in a performance like that, you won't always score as many goals as you should.
Yeah.
But if you defend well consistently, you will keep out.
Win that game 1-0.
Exactly. That's why defence is so important. And Arsene Wenger's had some seriously good defences down the years.
Yeah, what I think is the problem with Arsenal's defence, though, is if you look at the two midfielders they play, it's Granit Xhaka and Aaron Ramsey. And, Xhaka hasn't lived up to expectations, and Ramsey is basically trying to just play number 10. So they don't have anyone defending the back three, which you desperately need.
Yeah, I can see that. I do think Xhaka's been a bit better this year.
He's still, he can't do it on his own, and he's not good enough to do it on his own.
Yeah, no, it's not like United who have Matic and Herrera or Chelsea who have Kante.
You look at that Chelsea team that played
Bakayoko.
the 3-4-3 last season, they had Matic and Kante to protect. So it's basically they had 5 defensive players and 5 attacking players, and it was a perfect balance. At Arsenal, it's completely unbalanced. They have 3 defenders and then just so many attacking players that no wonder they're making defensive errors.
But I agree. I think that invites a lot more pressure on them than they need to have. Koscielny shouldn't have as much pressure on him as he does. For that third goal, Arsenal lost the ball high up the pitch on the edge of United's box, but it took one pass to Pogba, who was unmarked.
Yeah.
Pogba turned, ran. It was only Koscielny between him and the goals. There should never just be one player between a midfielder and the other team's goals. There should always be 2. like when you're defending. Like maybe for a striker it's a little different, but for a midfielder, you know, he can't have a clear run like that. At the same time, all that means is that Koscielny needs more pressure on him. You know, that doesn't mean that Koscielny should make the silly mistakes. that he does.
Saying blaming the midfield doesn't mean that the defense is blameless. There's still plenty of blame to be put on the defense. Yeah,
and I do think that Arsenal don't protect their defense as well as a lot of other teams in the league do. But I think you can get away with that when you're as possession orientated as they are.
And even when you're playing someone like Huddersfield, like they beat Huddersfield 5-0 midweek, like you get away with having a poor defence against a team that aren't as clinical as Huddersfield. But when you play Man United, you need to shore up your defence.
Yeah. I think if United are willing to sit back and defend, you're able to go without quite protecting your defence from your midfield as much. But your defence still needs to be good, because United have some very good attackers. They have Lukaku, they have Martial, they have Lingard, who's in fantastic form, they have Pogba. They're going to hurt you if your defence is not on form, if it's not tuned in. And that's what happened to Arsenal. You know, it does hurt to see what could have been a real potential standout moment in their season. You know, a real moment to show all the haters and show all the people, you know, with the Wenger out, show all their detractors like exactly how good they are, because I think that's as good as they played all season. But they're coming away without that win, without that potential, like, we told you so moment.
Yeah, it's just kind of another shortcoming for this team. There's had plenty of them over the years.
Yeah, they've had too many. It's time. I mean, what can you even say? Will bringing in new players help? Kolasinac came in as a really highly touted back.
He started quite well as well, but like the left back wasn't a problem position for Arsenal, really. No. Like Monreal was fine.
No, exactly. And I mean, even then, Kolasinac was on the team of the year for the Bundesliga when he left. Has he been anywhere near your team of the yearly Premier League standards?
No, he's not.
No. I mean, Koscielny has had some very good seasons at Arsenal.
He is getting old as well.
He's getting old. He's made some silly mistakes. I mean, none of their defence just looks as settled as some of the other teams.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, there's huge question marks over Mustafi. Like, he was almost sold in the summer.
Yeah.
He seems injured now. He's not consistently in the starting 11.
Yeah, and I think he was... he came from Roma, didn't he?
Mustafi, he came from Germany, I think.
Was he from Germany? Oh, no, it's Manolas I'm thinking of. Never mind.
Yeah.
No, I was I was completely wrong at that point there. But anyway, Mustafi also came with a big enough reputation.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. I mean...
Or it was Valencia, I think, that he came from. But it doesn't matter.
We're getting very confused now.
It's been a long day.
It doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter the reputations they have. It doesn't matter if they're Bellerin who's come through the academy, or if they're, you know, Kolasinac who's come from the Bundesliga team of the year. They're all making the similar mistakes. And you've got to wonder why that is.
That's down to coaching.
It has to be. It's the only thing that, like, sort of... It's the one common factor that they've all had. And you can't blame the system. Like, you can blame the system when there's too much pressure on you. You can blame the system when there's 2-on-1s coming down your channel. You can blame the system when you're outnumbered. You can blame the system if there's people finding space, you know, on the edge of the box, inside the box.
Yeah.
You can't blame the system when Koscielny charges in at Pogba in a one-on-one and loses out. You can't blame the system when he decides to pass across his own box. Like, even as a coach, like we were saying with Peter Bosch and his team's mistakes, it's a similar sort of thing. Like, there's only so much coaching you can do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm absolutely certain Koscielny's been coached not to cross across his own box. You know?
Yeah.
That's not even down to coaching. And I don't know what that is. That's down to players, but it happens with Arsenal players. Like, it happens with the team's players. It never happens at Chelsea. It never happens... Well, it happened last year at City. It hasn't happened this year at City.
Yeah.
Like, Mourinho would gut you for doing something like that. You know? Sometimes, like, what does that even leave that it can be down to, you know? The mentality at the club?
Like, there always have been kind of questions over the mentality at the club. Like, like we were talking about the Spurs mentality, it seems like Arsenal's mentality is stronger.
Yeah.
But then they make errors like that, and it's just this club's going around and around in circles and not achieving anything.
Yeah, and I mean, it always feels like they sabotage their own progress.
Yeah.
It's not some outside force. They're one of the richest clubs in the world. They can afford their own players. Like, even this summer, I don't want to be critical of Lacazette, but when all the 3 big English teams needed to sign strikers this summer, United, Chelsea and Arsenal. The couple of names that were in the hat were Morata, Lukaku, Belotti, Dybala thrown around a bit.
There, but he was less likely.
Yeah. So, like, nobody decided to go for Belotti, which is fair enough. He had a massive release clause. He's only had one good season.
Yeah.
But, I mean, were Arsenal even in for Morata and Lukaku?
No.
Why? Is it because they wouldn't fit the system? I don't think that's why.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. I think they could have made either striker work.
I think they would be doing well with either striker. And, I mean, I can see... I don't think they would have got either striker. Yeah. I don't think they'd get Lukaku.
That's the bigger issue, not necessarily that they didn't go for those players. Because I think Lacazette is a very good player. And
I think so too.
Very good signing.
He has, absolutely. And maybe in terms of value, he was 30 million cheaper.
Of a statement.
Yeah, exactly. They, instead of going up against Chelsea and against United for their player, they said, well, those two are going to those 2 clubs, so we'll have to look elsewhere.
Yeah, we'll have to look for we'll just have to go a tier below.
Yeah, not even a tier below, but just afraid of coming into competition with United and Chelsea. And when you're meant to be one of the biggest clubs in the country, that's saying you're below them, you know? Yeah. It's a fear of United and it's a fear of Chelsea.
Like, I wonder what they would have done last summer if Lacazette did go to Atletico.
Yeah, where would they go?
Jamie Vardy, perhaps?
They tried that and they couldn't even get in, you know? Like, would United have convinced Vardy? If United had been in for him at that point, would he have gone?
More likely, I think, just let. I think he wants a statue at Leicester, and that's the way he's going to get it.
You can say that, but out of the 3 big standout Leicester players, you had Vardy, Mahrez, and Kante. 2 of them were linked to Arsenal. 1 of them was linked to Chelsea. Only one's left the club.
And
you
they
know?
went to Chelsea, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that's, part of that is because Kante only came in that season. Mahrez and Vardy were there before that. They have more attachment to the club. Obviously, there are other factors.
Yeah, and I don't really think Vardy was ever going to leave that summer.
Vardy especially, I don't think. But
they couldn't convince Mahrez.
No, and I mean, part of that is because of Arsenal's, the whole image of Arsenal Football Club isn't quite as flattering as the image of Chelsea or United or even City at this point. And some of that, it's down to these silly things. It's down to these little things. They make the difference between the winners and the also-rans and the almosts, Yeah. And Arsenal
have become the quintessential almost rans.
Exactly. And in the end, although I was saying it wasn't down to coaching, that's down to standards not being pushed high enough.
Yeah.
That's down...
It seems like they're just very happy with the status quo.
Yeah. What sort of reaction is waiting for Koscielny in midweek training?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Compare that to what Mourinho?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, what sort of treatment will Koscielny get? Like, Arsene Wenger will tell him, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. What would Conte do?
Conte would drill it right into him.
Conte would rip his head off.
He'd never forget that moment.
Mourinho would rip his head off.
Yeah.
Guardiola.
Even Pep would. Yeah. And Pep
Guardiola
doesn't even care about defending as much.
I mean, he doesn't, but he'd still bench him, Yeah. He'd bench him. You're out of the team for the next 2 weeks. I don't care. After that, no.
Yeah.
That's what the really top managers have, Not only do their players like him, but they're also a little bit in fear of them.
Yeah.
Nobody fears Arsene Wenger anymore.
Yeah. The fear factor is gone.
Yeah, the respect is there. Absolutely people respect Arsene Wenger. People like Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, the people have huge admiration for Wenger.
Yeah, and rightly so. But I mean, the fear is gone,
Yeah. I think that will close out the show this week. It's been a long one, this one. I'd like to thank you, Matthias, for your contributions this week. And thank you, listeners, for listening this week. And please get in touch. Any thoughts on this week's episode or on the topic of the show or how crazy this match was, email us at the tfpod@gmail.com and follow us at the tfpod on social media. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at CheesyHarpun. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review on whatever platform of your choice. And that just leaves me to say goodbye.